Let's get a start. So as I said, and it is a warm evening, welcome to the Practical Legal Training Program here in the Law Faculty. My name is Maxine Evis and I am Program Head of PLT. And I'm so pleased that many of you could join us tonight. I think I'm pretty right in saying that you are, I'm guessing, pretty confidently that most of you, if not all, are UTS students. So you know us well and you know the university well. So I really appreciate the fact that you've taken time out this evening to learn about the program itself. And I also welcome any of you that are here on campus to join us afterwards, to join Tracy Booth, our Associate Dean, and other colleagues at orientation. We will have some refreshments. But let's get a start around practical legal training. So as we do here at UTS, before we begin this information and orientation session, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, that they are the clan that UTS sits on. And I also acknowledge that I think it's 60 years ago today that the Freedom Bus left Sydney University, taking students and others to various parts of New South Wales where there was still unacceptable and actually appalling levels of discrimination against Aboriginal people. So we are very mindful that that's not that long ago, and that a lot has been done in relation to the recognising of Indigenous rights. But as we know, there's still a long way to go. And as you would have studied in your either Bachelor of Laws or your Juris Doctor, our Indigenous graduate attribute, and that's something that we will continue in the Practical Legal Training Program. I expect you're all up to speed on why you need to do practical legal training. We're very aware here in the faculty that often students will get to about the third year or midway part of their study and then get to know that they have to do practical legal training. Some of you may also be aware that practical legal training has been in the press in the last couple of days in relation to the fees that are charged for the course. And by comparison, the practical legal training, which can be, as you know, completed, and many of you would be doing this in one session, is a much smaller amount or component of the entire law study. And I think that was the concern of the Chief Justice in terms of fees being charged by some providers. And I think the Chief Justice's concern was also in relation to what was happening to the fees that students were paying in terms of distribution, etc. We're a little bit different, as you would know, at UTS, because we are a university. So we are a public institution, and our fees are really set at a market rate in accordance with, if you're doing this PLT program within your LLB, in accordance with the higher education funding for law degrees, if you're doing PLTs, a graduate certificate, in accordance with market rates that are being charged for postgraduate qualifications, and the graduate certificate is a postgraduate qualification. You'd also be aware, I think as a public university, UTS puts back its profits or its income into the university, into research, training and development, into programs, equity and access programs, into scholarships, etc. So we are, as a university, in a different position to other providers. So you'll be aware that PLT is a requirement under the Legal Profession Admission Rules, and that's regulated by the New South Wales Legal Profession Admission Board, and you will be making application to the Admission Board when you complete your practical legal training to be admitted on the role of legal practitioners in New South Wales. So as this slide says, it really is about putting the academic into the practical, and I'm confident that you will see that happening. Whilst you know, as well as I do, that the UTS law degree, whether it be a bachelor's or a Juris Doctor, is a very practice-based professional program. It's part of the DNA here at UTS. Practical legal training is very practical, and the tasks that you're doing are very much what would be happening in a legal environment. I think this is, again, pretty straightforward, just another way of showing the journey that you need to undertake to be admitted as a legal practitioner, and then to branch out into either solicitor, barrister, and within the solicitor's profession, many different types of roles for legal practitioners. So competencies are set out also in the Legal Profession Admission Rules, Schedule 2, if you're interested in having a deep dive into the detail there. So competencies are PLT's Priestley 11. It's the areas that all practical legal training providers need to teach our students. And we've summarised them there. So you can see that they're really centred around skills as well as in particular practice areas. So the core practice areas that build on your academic, civil litigation, commercial and corporate and property law. The competencies also require two electives, at least two electives. Here at UTS, and I'll come to this shortly, we're introducing some new electives so that you have greater choice to specialise for a couple of weeks, for a 3-week period, in areas that you are interested in, either working in or planning to practice in. So the course itself, and we've been running PLT here at UTS for 25 years, the course itself is very much designed as applied knowledge through skills. You'd all be familiar with our course intended learning outcomes and our graduate attributes. We continue those in the practical legal training program, but they all have a focus on professional practice. You can see that our course intended learning outcomes here on this slide for the program are around the profession. So knowledge, which is what you have acquired during your academic study, you will still be adding to that, of course. We do look at legislation, less so at cases, but we are looking at knowledge, new knowledge, and drawing on your knowledge from your degree. Ethics very much in professional conduct, drawing on what you've done in ethics, law and justice, but putting it very much in a practice-based context. So looking at the solicitor's rules, looking at your obligations around the trust and office accounting. Skills I've already talked about. We continue the Indigenous professional capability, and you'll look at that in the subject skills and wills practice. And they're then very much around client-focused, so communication, problem solving, working in teams to solve clients' problems, but also your communication with the court and with your opponents in practice. So graduate attributes you are very familiar with. We're continuing those, and you'll see those embedded in the 3 core subjects that we teach in the PLT program. As we've done with your academic study, we have designed these to be threaded through the subjects and to share the graduate attributes across the 3 subjects. As I've noted, and as you would be well aware, having spent some time with us before you've come to PLT, that we are very much a practice-based university. And so we are very familiar with, very comfortable, and very capable in designing our assessment tasks around what an entry-ready, as we say, an entry-ready lawyer will be when they go into the profession. So that's really the level that we teach our PLT program that's required an entry-level lawyer. So you'll run practice files in 2 of the subjects, in property and in litigation, and you'll do some of the steps that would take place in a practice file. For those of you that are lucky enough to be working in practice where you're managing files or working with files, then you will be familiar with the progression of a matter from the file keeping, file management perspective. For students who haven't had that opportunity, we'll take you through what happens in a file, and we will highlight and assess some of the steps of the practice file, not all the steps. A fair bit of drafting. I know you do some drafting in your LLB or JD. I teach in civil litigation, and I know we do some drafting of a statement of claim and sometimes an affidavit in that subject. We'll do some more drafting using the court forms, getting you ready to see how a document is drafted, how it is filed, and what it looks like in terms of being in the court, and being familiar with where to find the forms that you need. You'll get some experience in court through the general etiquette, of how to appear in court, and then also in undertaking a couple of the options that are court focused. So they're the two options you have a choice of: criminal law and family law are very much around the advocacy of those area of practice, but you'll also do a choice between employment and industrial law or consumer law that is very much placed in tribunals, as you may already know. And what's the work of the tribunal? A little bit different from the work of the court. And how do you navigate your way around if you're specializing in those areas and you're engaging with the tribunal on a regular basis? Client interviews, very much a part of the skill and negotiation, very much part of the subject skills and rules practice, where you will do some tasks for assessment around interviewing a client in relation to taking those initial instructions and providing some very first early advice to the client. And then you'll be in a negotiation exercise where you're negotiating with another side on an interest-based approach, and you'll learn and you'll be stepped through the skills that are required there. And then throughout the three subjects, you will be advising clients. It's very much, as I said earlier, a client-focused course. You probably know that there are no exams in practical legal training. We haven't had exams in that program for many years, and it really is about giving you the opportunity to practice, to get feedback on, and to practice again the type of tasks that you will be doing in legal practice in the framework of what the competencies require us to teach. So very hands-on, very much on the ground. Let me introduce you to some of the coordinators and teachers in the program. Now, you may have been taught, particularly by Anne or Jackie, in the undergraduate subjects. Jackie teaches family law as an elective. She's also taught previously in ethics, law and justice, and is teaching it, will be teaching this year. So you may not have had the opportunity to meet Anne in your bachelor's or JD. Anne will also be teaching into the subject real property. So let me firstly introduce Courtney. So Courtney Tran is an alumna of UTS. She is working in litigation. That is her practice, litigation and dispute resolution. She has been in practice for about 9 years, and she specializes in commercial litigation. Courtney's been with us now for a couple of years, and she's now the subject coordinator of litigation practice. So in that subject, you will be with Courtney for 6 weeks running a litigation file. You will then move to your electives. Your first electives are a choice between family law or criminal law for 3 weeks. And then your second elective will be between employment and industrial law or consumer law. And I'll introduce you to your teachers there in the next slide. But Courtney will continue to be the subject coordinator. She will be the one that will be managing the subject and your port of call. In property and commercial practice, you're covering the competencies of commercial, property and conveyancing work, as well as electives. You have Anne Arthur. So Anne has been in practice for a significant amount of time. She's currently in sole practice with, I would say, a fairly general practice. So Anne is a subject coordinator, and she will be with you for the first 9 weeks of property and commercial practice, and then the electives come in. And in property and commercial practice, you have the choice of the electives of either banking and finance or employment and, or environmental and planning law. Jackie Jones looks after our skills and wills practice. Jackie will look after the skills component for the first 9 weeks, and then Des Finnegan will come in and complete the final 3 weeks, and everybody in that subject will undertake the wills component. Jackie, like Anne, has significant practice, both in general practice and as a specialist in family law. So let's move on to introduce you to the practitioners and educators who will be looking after you for the electives. So new electives for you. This is the first time these electives are being offered. So we are very open and appreciative of the feedback that you can give us in relation to these electives, because this is the first time that they are offered. Okay, so let's go through these colleagues. So first of all, we have Catherine Tirado. So Catherine is General Counsel for FedEx, Senior General Counsel for FedEx. So Catherine really spends a lot of time in the Fair Work Commission. She will be looking after the employment and industrial relations component or elective that you will have the opportunity to consider doing. Running against Catherine in terms of choices of electives is Jessica Norgard. Jessica is a senior legal counsel at NBN Australia and spends a lot of time looking at consumer protection. So Jessica is looking after our consumer law elective. That's also a new elective. So the choice of either employment or consumer law. And then you have a choice in litigation practice, as I said, in weeks 7, 8, and 9 of either family law, which is taught by Jackie, who'll also be taking you for skills in skills and wills practice, or in running against Jackie in the family law option is G. Hugh. G is taking the criminal law component elective. G's been teaching this for a couple of years, and she's a solicitor at Legal Aid and also an alumna. Still staying with our electives, we have Ben Son. Ben is an alumni, I should say, or alum, I should say, of UTS. And Ben's been teaching with us for several years. He's in private practice. You may have come across Ben in some of your core subjects. I know, for example, he's taught with me in civil litigation. He's also taught in admin law, possibly some other subjects. So Ben has his own practice where he is specialising in planning and environmental law. So that's his specialty. And that's an option in property and commercial practice. And running against Ben, you would say, is Maria McKenzie. And Maria is taking the banking and finance option. And Maria is senior legal counsel at Westpac. So again, very experienced in her area of expertise. And then going across to skills and wills practice, some of you will know Des. I know Succession that he teaches is one of the most popular electives. So Des looks at the wills and estate component of skills and wills practice. So skills and wills is an elective, but here at UTS, since the beginning of our PLT program, we've always had it as a compulsory elective because we consider that it's so important for general practitioners. And again, we're teaching this program to an entry-level lawyer that's going into general practice. It's also really important in terms of drafting skills, getting to know court documents, etc. So everyone will do wills and estate, but you'll have the choice of electives in the other subjects. So just putting it as course overview here, you've got your credit points, 6 per subject, and you have your practical experience. Some of you might already have commenced your practical experience in an informal way. That's your 65 days, and that's no credit points, no fees, but there are your 3 subjects. Just a reminder, graduate certificate, if you're undertaking the graduate certificate in professional legal practice, is a 24 credit point qualification. We give you 6 credit points of advanced standing as you come into the program, so you are only required to complete 18 credit points, the 3 subjects. If you're a PLT student in the Bachelor of Laws, you are undertaking 18 credit points as part of your PLT and options in the Bachelor of Laws. So I'll just now spend a little bit of time giving you an overview of each of the subjects. Skills and wills practice. If you are only doing one PLT subject, you might be studying part-time, you might be finishing off your electives in your academic program, then this is your first subject. This is the foundational subject. Even though students generally do the 3 subjects together, as I said, if you're only doing one subject, this is it. So very much the skills-based introduction to practical legal training, building on what you've done in your Priestley 11 subjects. So very much around the graduate attributes, very much around the course intended learning outcomes. You can see the types of skills that you will be doing there. Introduced to legal accounting, to the trust account and the office account. We have to teach that. It's part of the competencies. I know several students would say, you may have spoken to past students, not their favourite part of the course, but it is necessary, it's compulsory, because more than just the practical aspects of it, and we don't go into the detail that we used to go into it because so much of obviously management of the office and trust account now is automated, but it's understanding the obligations that lawyers have in relation to clients' money, about what are the responsibilities around the trust account and what are the repercussions if there are breaches of the trust account. It's a lot fun subject because you get to do negotiation, you get to do client interviewing, you get to practice a little bit of court advocacy, but it also teaches those values, as I said, around ethics, professionalism, resilience. So that's for your first 9 weeks, and then you're moving for your final 3 weeks to wills and estate practice with Des. In property and commercial practice with Anne, the first 9 weeks are taken up with a combination of property and conveyancing, where you run a purchase of a residential property, run a file, looking after that matter as acting for the purchaser, and then you do the other components that make up the commercial advice aspect, as well as the different parts of property and conveyancing. And you can see those areas that are covered there. So you get to come back to real property, your core Priestley 11 subject, but see it very much in a practical context and see it very much from your role as an advisor to the client in relation to problems around property. And then moving into that commercial aspect of that component of the subject, you're looking at business structures and advice to clients. A good foundation if you want to go on and do banking and finance elective. And then you have your choice of elective in the final 3 weeks. And here you do have a choice, either banking and finance with Maria or planning and environmental law with Ben. So you don't have to have done the commercial law electives or any environmental law electives in your law degree to do these electives in the PLT. But if it's areas that you're interested in or an area that you hope to practice in, then I'd recommend that you make your choices around either of those. So litigation practice with Courtney covers very much similar to civil practice, and I can say that because I teach civil practice, is the journey of a litigation matter. But here in litigation practice, you run a file with the steps from pre-commencement to finalisation. So that's the first 6 weeks, and you can see the types of matters you will cover, the types of issues you will cover in that first 6 weeks in civil litigation. You then move into, for the final 6 weeks, a choice of 2 electives out of 4. So criminal law with G or family law with Jackie in weeks 7, 8, and 9. Then your second elective in this subject in weeks 10, 11, and 12, a choice between consumer or employment and industrial relations. And I'll talk a little bit about how you opt for your electives shortly. As you probably know, because I'm expecting that you have enrolled in practical experience, it's no credit points, it's no fees, but it is a requirement under the legal profession admission rules and the competencies that you undertake some practical experience. You've all enrolled in what we're calling Stream A, and that's 65 days of practical experience. I know the rules can be a bit complicated. You'll find them on the webpage, the faculty's webpage. If you're not sure, I do encourage you to take the time to read the rules before you then ask any questions that you might have to the practical experience committee. So just work through those rules. Once you've enrolled in practical experience, you will receive access to the forms that you need to get your supervisors to sign off on. So it does take a little bit of wading through. So you've got 65 days. You can do no more in when you can work full-time of 40 hours a week, but that's not during, well, it depends if you're full. It depends whether you're a full-time student or not. A significant amount of those 65 days, that is 45 days, can be done before you've actually enrolled in the subject practical experience, and you can't enroll in the subject practical experience until you have enrolled in skills and wills practice. So many of you or some of you may be working in a legal environment and not aware that you could be claiming that time. So you can go back to 2 years prior to this autumn. So the beginning of, say, the February of 2023, and claim up to 45 days of that time that you are working in a legal environment. And it's a very, very broad definition of what legal work is. Obviously, you can't be doing the legal work of a lawyer, but work that is revolving around legal matters. Have a look again at the rules and the definition of legal work. And most importantly, you need to have the approval of a supervisor. So if you've done work in the last 2 years that you think fits into the definition, you will need to talk, and you're no longer in that workplace, you will need to go back and talk to your supervisor as to whether they're willing to approve that you have undertaken work with them, and you'll see the requirements about qualifications of supervisors, etc., in the practical experience rules. We know undertaking 3 subjects, and as I said, some of you might be completing your electives, can be a heavy load. So don't worry if you haven't finished your practical experience in autumn if you're full-time, or even in autumn and spring if you're part-time, because you'll have 12 months from when you enroll in practical experience to complete that. And I'll say this to you in a very genuine way. If you haven't completed your practical experience within the 12 months, you can apply for an extension. And if you are progressing, then you will more than likely get that extension. We don't stop students from graduating because they've taken a bit longer to complete their practical experience. If you are having trouble with your practical experience, trying to secure a place, we do have some information on the website, but you can also contact me. And whilst we can't find you a placement, and we certainly can't guarantee you a placement, we can give you some assistance if you need it in securing a placement. So please don't let practical experience stop you from progressing through your PLT program, even if that occurs after you've completed the coursework subjects. Just a couple of tips to keep in mind. Again, this applies, and you would have been thinking about this and doing this in your law degree, but very much it is about starting to transition into being a professional where there is high-level expectations around meeting deadlines, around being punctual, about delivering work when there are agreed timelines. So please start to get into that habit, because as you know, and for those of you that are working, not just in the law, but working in non-law environments, meeting timelines, complying with deadlines, are expected because there are other things that are happening around that. So it's a little bit different in the university world where I'm not saying it's easy to get extensions, but where there's an understanding that students will need to apply for extensions, etc. I know that that same understanding doesn't apply across all sectors outside the university sector. Again, you're starting to move, and many of you are already in that professional mindset when you email your teachers, the way that you address them, when you email each other, the way you address them, the way that you give your student number when you're contacting us, the way that you structure even an email to make it clear and precise. Discussions on the discussion board, you'd be used to discussion boards in Canvas, how we are professional in the way that we ask questions and we pose different opinions, etc. And similarly in the classroom, and I know there's been a lot of discussion over the years, obviously since COVID, about etiquette in online classes. We do certainly expect students to have their cameras on in an online class. We wouldn't have a student come to an on-campus class and turn their chair around and face the back of the classroom and not face their colleagues and their teacher. So we're expecting the same level of engagement in the online class. We understand you are at the pointy end of your degree, and it's been a long time, and it's been a longer time for some students. We try to accommodate you where we can, but we ask you to let us know if you are having some issues, some struggles, need some support as early as possible. And that can be your first port of call as your subject coordinator. We have a director of students. You would probably know that by now. The current director is Maria Bertos. Maria has taught in the PLT program for many years. She came to us through the PLT program. Maria teaches real property. She's extremely approachable. So talk to Maria, talk to me as the program head. If you need help, go to the university services that you are familiar with. And of course, as you know, the university has an emphasis on plagiarism and misconduct, particularly as we're all grappling with AI. So please be aware of that. We know the profession is also grappling with AI. You'd be aware that the Chief Justice released a couple of weeks ago a practice note in relation to technology in AI, which you will cover in civil litigation. So in litigation, a practice. So be aware of the themes of what the profession is saying. If you are allowed to use AI and other technology, it needs to be disclosed. Okay, this is really our last slide, or second last slide, for our orientation, and really picks up from what I was saying in relation to the last slide. It is a safe place to learn. I know everyone is very focused, particularly those that are doing the LLB, and your marks in the PLT subjects go towards your GPA. PLT is not hard. It is practical. But what it calls for is a commitment to staying on top of your work. So think about that. If you were doing 4 subjects, your 3 PLT and an elective, you might want to change that and just do 1 PLT subject with your elective and 2 PLT, the other 2 PLT subjects in spring. As long as you can keep on top of your work, if you attend class, whether that be on campus or online, you will have space in those classes to be working on your assessments or working towards your assessments. So just don't leave it to the last minute. So take the experience of your teachers, talk to them about their careers, ask them about how they do certain things, because we know, particularly for those of you that are in practice, lawyers, even within a firm, do things differently. So learn about as many approaches as you possibly can. So as we say, starting to think like a lawyer. Now, before I leave this slide, I'd just like to give you a little bit more of the detail, because it's new, a couple of new things to the program this year. So you will have enrolled as either in an on-campus workshop, as we call them, rather than tutorial or seminar, or on an online workshop. For those of you that have opted, and you're going to have to do the same thing for three subjects, you can chop and change for each of the subjects. But if you've enrolled as in an on-campus workshop, you will know that Mondays is your PLT days. They're the days that you will spend with us. So 9 till 11, 11:30 to 1:30, 2 to 4. And so you have got your practical legal training over and done within one day, which allows you to do other things in the rest of the week. If you have enrolled in an online workshop, your workshops will be Mondays, and you're doing the three subjects, Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, 6 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. That's the structure. We used to have on-campus students, off-campus students. We don't do that anymore. You are all students. And just as we do in our core subjects, you either opt for an on-campus class or an online class. Now, within that structure, in the subject litigation practice, and if you are doing an on-campus workshop, you will come into campus for the first 6 weeks. You will then join the online class in the last 6 weeks doing your electives, okay? So 6 weeks on campus, 6 weeks online. If you are, that's litigation practice. Property and commercial practice and skills and wills practice, you will do your first 9 weeks if you've chosen an on-campus workshop on Mondays on campus. Then you'll move in with the students that are in the online workshop for the final 3 weeks, weeks 10, 11, and 12. In property and commercial, you'll be doing an elective, and in skills and wills, you'll be doing the wills component. Now, so that's different to how we have delivered the practical legal training program before. So you might have spoken to students that are doing the program at the moment or have done the program. It's different. You've got your PLT Mondays for on-campus. You have your evenings for online workshops. In terms of your electives, how you will choose those when you commence next week in your subjects in litigation practice and in property and commercial practice, you will have a list that will be in announcements. If you've got access to the subjects, you'll see those lists now. And I know in litigation practice, some students have already opted, and you will opt for either of those electives. Now, to be balanced, we have to have equal number of students in both electives. So if you're passionate about doing banking and finance law, then you need to get in early. It's first in, best dressed. Once we get to 50% of the student cohort for banking and finance, it cuts off and you go into the default, which is planning and environmental law, which I'm sure you'll enjoy with Ben. But just be aware of that. We won't chase you. We're asking everyone to do that, I think, by the 10th of March. And if you haven't enrolled in or opted for either for your electives, by then we will put you into where there is space. So that just takes a little bit of planning and thinking. And then you will also have some guidance from your teachers, from Courtney and Anne. And then, as I said, in skills and wills, everybody will be doing the wills with Des at the end of that subject. Yeah, you can see here up on the screen that I have put in the services. You will know those, or you'll be familiar with those. The most important ones, I think, for you now, other than the usual ones we have, most of your resources will be in the subjects, either in the reading list or in the modules each week. You don't necessarily have to spend so much time in the library with resources, but you might want to study there. Helps are available, but you're probably in the groove about, how we shape our assessments. Student services always available. Maria, as Director of Students, if you're having problems, if you need to apply for leave of absence, if you need some advice in relation to maybe slowing down and going part-time for PLT, etc. If you're having problems with practical experience, please come to me. And then if you are starting now to think, okay, it's getting very close to my completion of my law study, I'm not sure about curriculum vitae, I'm not sure about covering letters, I'm not sure about interview skills, then please reach out to the career service. They will also be available to help you, and they're very aware of our practical legal training program. Those of you that are here on campus, please come along to the Postgraduate Lounge on level 14 and join us for some refreshments. Hopefully there'll be a few of you so you can meet each other and get to know each other in class. But if you've got any other questions, there's our law orientation website there. And I think that is going to finish our orientation. Now, I would like to take questions from anyone. Please just pop your hand up or ask a question about anything that you're not sure about, given that the program is new for autumn. Yes, Noor.
I just wanted to ask a question. Is the work experience done, like when is that done? Is that during like studying the subjects, or is it after you finish? When do we do that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Noor. Yeah, you have a lot of flexibility with your 65 days practical experience. 45 of those days can be done before you've started your practical legal training. But don't worry if you haven't done any practical experience, because you will start you can count those 45 days. If you haven't done any practical experience, you start your 65 days, or you can start your 65 days now, okay? And if you don't get it finished by the end of autumn, you can continue to do a practical experience in spring. If you don't start your practical experience until you've finished your coursework subjects, you will still be able to continue to start your practical experience. As I said in one of the earlier slides, you have 12 months from when you enroll in practical experience to complete the 65 days. But if you are progressing, we never say no to a student. We want you to finish. We want you to be admitted. So we will help you if you are finding it difficult to find practical experience. As I said, we don't guarantee that we can find you a place, but we have connections and we can help you. So what I suggest you do, have a look at the practical experience rules. As I said, I might get Savan to pop the link in the chat while I'm answering some questions. Have a look at those rules and the information that we have around practical experience, the connections we have. And if you're then not sure, please send me, Maxine, an email, and I'll get back to you, and we can meet one-on-one and work through it. Is that okay, Noor?
Yeah, sounds good. But for like when we apply, do we like email the employer and or the person, the workplace, and say that we're doing our PLT and we're looking for a place? Is that how it works? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when you go on to, there is a lot of information about practical experience. So I know it takes a bit of time to plow through, but you'll see we have part of that is instructions to supervisors. So you can look at that. That's the type of information you would be giving a supervisor in a legal workplace as to what they need to do. Most law firms will have had practical experience students, so they will know what to expect. Okay, but please email me after you've had a look at the practical experience information. And thank you, Savan's put the link in the chat. Thank you. Day, you've got a question.
Yeah, Maxine, thank you for allowing me to ask you the question. My question is about how to opt the elective choices, elective subject for the litigation. If we want, sorry, I know you mentioned that, but I may miss that part. So I just want to seek clarification from you as to how I elect, which part I want to do that.
Once you go into the Canvas site, subjects, you'll see, so this is in litigation practice and in property and commercial practice, those two subjects, you'll see in announcement electives list or something. It'll be called choose your electives or list of electives, something like that. There are not that many announcements there yet, I don't think, so you should better see it. And there is a sheet, a list of There's the electives and a list of number of students. So I think, let's say there are 68 students enrolled in the subject. You've got numbered down 130 to 34 for banking and finance and 1 to 34 for environment and planning law. So you write your name, your email, and your student number in the elective that you wish to go into.
Okay.
And then and that's all you need to do. You don't do your electives until the end of the subject. It's the latter half of the subjects, and the teachers for those will be in touch with you as we get closer, the week before those electives start, to give you the information. There's already content in the modules in those electives, but you don't need to look at those until you get up to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Adele.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. I have two questions, one of which relates to one that was previously asked. I have already signed up for the options in litigation practice. However, I am just looking at the announcements now for property and commercial practice. And I'm really passionate about doing the banking and finance elective. However, I can't see the attached sheet that you're referring to.
Yeah.
Do you have any more information on that?
Yeah, I do. Are you able to put your camera on?
Yes, I'm currently just on my phone at the moment, but yeah.
Yep. Hi. Yes, Anne has just got the information for that today, Anne Arthur. So Anne will put that up. Keep an eye on it. That's what I'd say.
Stay posted? No worries.
Stay posted. So she will be on that. She's just working out how to put that up. So the sheet's been done, and just jump in, and you'll be doing banking and finance with Marie, who's at Westpac. It's great.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Second question?
It was relating to the practical experience. So I currently am working full-time as a paralegal at a firm. And I have been for a couple of months now. I did already submit my practical experience form. Yeah, that's the one with the careers. Anyway, so that starts.
Career Hub, that's right.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm pretty sure I posted it to start either this week or next week. Is there any benefit in backdating it, or would you recommend just leaving it as is?
If you're thinking you're going to stay where you are, and are you doing 18 credit points or less?
Yeah, I'm doing all subjects.
Yeah, so you're not doing any electives, so Adele, you're doing 3 PLT.
Yes.
So you can claim full-time, okay? If you're doing more than 18 credit points, you're only allowed to claim the hours of 2 days, like 14 hours. But given that you're 18 or less, you can claim 35 hours a week. So you're going to reach your 65 hours pretty quickly. You probably don't need to go back.
Oh, okay. Is it 65 hours or 65 days?
65 days, 65 days.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no worries.
You're probably going to reach your 65 days, well, in 13 weeks, aren't you, if my maths is right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need to go back.
There's no point. Okay, I was just thinking in case, like, sick days, like I don't have a holiday or anything planned, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can always, and Savan, my colleague, is in the practical experience committee, so she might send me a message and say, that's wrong, Maxine. But if you come to the end of your coursework, the end of autumn, and something's happened and you haven't done those, there is nothing to stop you going back, because you're allowed to go back 45 days.
Oh, okay. So there's a possibility in the future if I need to revise.
Exactly, yeah.
Lovely.
I hope that's the case of Aunt saying that. Okay, good luck. Thanks, Adele.
Thank you.
Sia, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Sia?
Yeah, Sia. Thank you, Maxine.
Thank you. Hi.
I just have 2 questions, and the first one going to be a pretty specific. So I just want to ask, would a court officer be qualified for consider as a practical legal experience?
That is a great question. Can you email, and Savannah's just put the address in the chat. See, can you email us with telling us what a court officer, I mean, I know what a court officer does. I was in practice and did a bit of local court work, but if you can just give us a bit more detail. Most importantly, and I won't spend a lot of time because it's a bit more nuanced, but with all practical experience, as I said in the orientation slides, you need to have someone who will be your supervisor, and they'll say you've been exposed, which you do in the local court, you're exposed to a lot of litigation and advocacy. So please send us an email and then we'll get back to you with further details, okay?
Sure. So I'll just send
Fantastic.
it to you, and what will be the other person?
Now
Or-
send it to, if you look in the chat, you'll
Yeah.
see that there is, Savan has put law.pe@uts.edu, and, and one of us, either Savan or Mel on that team or myself, will get back to you.
Yeah,
A
okay.
great experience, but yeah, let's talk. Did you have another question?
Yes. Also I want to ask, so it's only going to be until we finish all 3 subjects and plus the practical experience, 65 days, and then we can be granted with the certificate of PLT, right?
Yes, you can apply to be admitted. So you graduate with your PLT and you've got your academic, and that's when you can apply to be admitted to the Supreme Court.
Right, and then that process can be happened as soon as you got both the bachelor degree, which I did, and plus the PLT certificate.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Margaret.
Hi, thank you for this presentation, very informative and gives us more points before we start next week. But with the, my questions regarding the electives, how do we enroll in them? Is it like through the course itself that we're guided how to do it, or we have to do it before?
Yeah, yeah. And same, Margaret, have you got, can you put your camera
My
on?
camera doesn't work, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. Are you doing on campus or
Yes,
online?
100% on campus.
Oh, good. Then you'll move online. So you might have to see about your camera, because particularly with the electives, I would be suggesting you'll want to engage with the teachers. Okay.
Definitely.
I thought I'd explained that earlier, but let me explain it again. Next week, or even now, as I said to Adele, if you go into the subject litigation practice now in Canvas, you should be enrolled. Are you enrolled, Margaret?
I am enrolled, but I'm doing that litigation in spring.
Okay. Are you doing property and commercial this
Yes.
semester? Okay,
Yes.
so your teacher, Anne Arthur, is just about to put the form up. Okay, so really, we don't, it doesn't happen till Monday, but Anne is very organized, as you will find out. So she will put the form up in the next day or so. Okay, so once you go into that Canvas site, into the subject and into announcements, Anne will have an announcement about electives. There's a sign-on sheet there. She'll give you the link to that, and you'll see one column for banking and finance with, I think, about, say, 33 lines in it, one column for environmental and planning with 33 lines. They both have to have the same number of students, and you will sign that. You will write your name and your student number and your email address on that document.
Yep.
Okay? Does that make sense? And then in spring, you'll do the same thing, but you'll be an expert by then. You'll do the same thing for litigation practice.
Thank you so much for clarifying.
Okay, pleasure. Good luck, Margaret. Matthew.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. So I'm a bit odd in this situation. I'm not actually a stream A, I'm a stream B.
Okay.
So I've only got the 20-day requirement, but I think I've got an extra subject.
Yeah. Okay. Can you and I talk after this
Absolutely.
orientation shortly? So just hang in there, Matthew. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? No. Another question? No? Okay. So I think that's
Sorry,
all.
Maxine, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
I've enrolled into the subjects on my student admin, but I can't see them on Canvas.
Okay. So you've enrolled in the subjects, but Canvas is not coming up for you.
No, that's why I'm not sure. Like, I'm confused about like electives and all that. Like, I don't know how that works because I can't
Yeah.
see anything on Canvas.
Okay. Can you send an e-request, please, Noor, to student admin, the e-request email address, and tell them that you've enrolled. Now, it's a two-step process. So when you enroll in a subject, as you did in your law degree, let's say you enroll in family law, you've enrolled in the subject, but you haven't yet enrolled in the class. So go back to your enrollment.
I have enrolled into the like timetable. I've like chosen my classes, but it doesn't show up on Canvas.
Okay. Can you please send an email to an e-request to SAU and tell them that's the problem that you're having?
Yeah.
And ask them, can they advise you how to enroll in Canvas?
All right then. Thank you.
And if you get stuck, send me an email. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Noor. Okay, well, if anyone, as I said, is anyone, can I have a show of hands if anybody is actually here on campus? Oh, doesn't look like there is anybody here. That's unfortunate. I'll have to have all the snacks by myself then. But I look forward to seeing you. As I said, if you've got any more questions, please email me. If it's a practical experience question, please email the practical experience number. And Matthew, I'll say goodnight to everyone else, but Matthew, if you'd like to stay on, we can have a chat about your options. Okay, good luck, everyone, and look forward to meeting you at some stage through the program.